Hi friends, this is my own car, black paste. A lot of people have been telling me to bring this car here, and I think it's the right time to bring, which I'll let you know later. So this is an episode on Stronger Than Time. Welcome to Flywheel. Mercedes-Benz Gelandewagen, or popularly known as G-Wagon. It has been always my favorite vehicle, one of my favorite all-time vehicle I can say, and I always wanted to own one since my childhood. So I searched for around 4 years to get this vehicle, and this is basically an 86 built, 88 registered car, and it's a 300 GD and it's a coupe form. It's a very rare to have coupe and cabriolet in G-Wagon, but in India also there are few, and one is this. I bought it from Delhi, and this was initially owned by Canadian Embassy and later by Mauritius Embassy. Later a civilian customer had bought it. It was used by him. From him I bought it to a friend of mine. So I bought it almost 10 years back, and when I bought it, it was the basic version with a white color. I was inspired with one edition called Edition Puch, and you know, Daimler Group has tied up with Steyr of Austria to develop this car when Shah of Iran wanted a military version for his army to go anywhere without any problem. So they developed this vehicle to go anywhere, and they've been very successful, and you know, still it go stronger than time. So this is the car which I bought here, my own G300 GD. I call it as Black Beast because of this color. And I used to have a lot of off-roading fun with this vehicle still. In spite of its being so old, it has got its own hassles, small problems, but still it has not stuck me anywhere so far while we do any off-roading. We also did today, but I'll show you now. So stay tuned to have a Stronger Than Time episode. G-Class retained this design still now because the shape is the most attractive thing for G-Class, and still they retain. And this one is a W461 actually, and the same design has gone to 460. I will give you small information. 461 was produced actually in Greece when they had a high demand, so they not produced in Austrian plant. So when they had a high demand, they had made some right and drive vehicle in some plant in Greece by hiring that. So those series are called 461. So 461, 460 carry the same design, which is this grille and round headlight. It's all the same, but there is a cutting over here which retain from the earlier version. A lot of people had told me to change the grille to look new, but I wanted to retain the original form. Here is the side view, side indicators which still retain on the new G-Class. I had put this guards which is part of my modification, and this is a wheel arch which was not there in my earlier car. This came in the upper variant. I wanted to put a bigger wheel, so I had this bought from UK on a wreck market, and I also changed this wheel onto a bullet studded deal. So it look very purposeful and very strong, but it's again it's not a proper alloy, it's a steel mix alloy, so good for off-roading. And I changed the tires to empty. The straight line has been continued all over. It's a strong belt line, it's a rubber thing, and this handle also remained the same in the new G-Class. If there's a 5-door model, there used to be a for second door over here, otherwise there's a big glass over here. Straight line continues, and on the rear it's a very simple tail light treatment, and I had actually placed this guard. Rest I not changed anything, and the car is retained the same way. As I said, I changed the tire into empty tire, so I couldn't get a wheel cover, but a lot of people told me, my friends and all, to retain like this, so I kept it open. So basically, G-Class shape is a boxy design, still retained, and look very macho for me. Even though it looks small in picture and video, it's actually huge in dimension, and the new one has grown a little, which I'll explain you later. So this is my car, which is the basic of the G-Class, the 460 or 461, and this is the base of entire G-Class, which has been developed in a big manner now. So friends, this is a 30-year-old car or 30-plus-year-old car, and this is basically the first G-Wagon. So what I'm having here is a 3-liter diesel engine powered 300 GD. The power is not great in the sense like the count is not great. It is an 88 HP, 172 Nm torque machine. So initially, as you know, the G-Wagon was developed for military and other expedition purpose. So for that, this engine was enormous, and you know, it was not the era of the power wars. So the engine was good for my purpose, so it was having a great performance. And the engine is mated to a 4-speed gearbox, a manual gearbox. And you know, it's not a very power banded gearbox system, it's a normal gearbox. But all the game changes when you use this transfer case with the 4-wheel drive system. The transfer case changes the ratio. There are 3 different modes. There's a normal 2-wheel drive high range, there's a 4-wheel drive high range, and there is a 4-wheel drive low range. And the first diff lock happens and you engage the 4-wheel drive high. Then there are 3 diff locks total, and you know, it's only one G-Wagon is having a 3 diff lock in a standard vehicle. So that can be operated with this lever here. The first lever over here is for the rear diff lock, and the second lever is for the front diff lock. So it can be done shift on fly. So if you want to change into the 4-wheel drive, it's easy. So now I am in 4 high. So that's so easy it is. But the thing is, when you do it onto the 4-wheel drive low, you need to reduce the speed a little. The best part of the G-Wagon, again, like any Merc, is the training radius. So it's still, and it has one of the best shortest training radius in spite of its size. So now let's shift on to a G63 to look how the new G-Wagons are. G-Class, as you know, the shape is the most attractive thing about the car. That's why they retained this. When Mercedes decided to phase out the G-Class first, they introduced the GL. But the fan shift was so big that they continued the shape, and they were planning to axe it many times. But so much fans that they couldn't do it, including person like me. It never wanted to see G-Class in axe. So they redesigned and developed a new G-Class to meet up the international norms and all the safety norms. Earlier G-Class had little of the problem, like there was not meeting up with the latest norms like the pedestrian safety and other things, and even the aerodynamics. So now the drag coefficient has been reduced, it completely redesigned. The design is in a way that it's more aerodynamic and it meet up all the norms. And it has actually grown in size, the length, width, and even the wheelbase has grown, but the height has been reduced a millimeter, reduced a little. Otherwise, it remained exactly the same. The shape has been retained, but actually only 3 things has been retained. One is the drop handle, other one is the door hinges, and third one is the grab handle inside the car. Rest everything has been built from scratch and exactly meeting with the real G-Wagon. You know, G-Wagon retained the same design, but the fascia has got some difference with the AMG, because it's got the new Amg Grille, which is a vertical slack, and it's got some negative element to that. But initially I didn't like it in the photos, but when I saw it the first time in Moscow, I was literally attracted, and now it's growing on me. So now I don't have any problem with the grille, it's really attractive. The round light has been retained, but the multi-beam LED treatment is really good. It got the range of around 650 meter for high beam, and there's a round daytime running light like a Corona green, and it look good, attractive. Bumper has been tapered a little to the side to give more aerodynamic and less drag coefficient. The indicators are retained the same, but it's inverse type. Earlier it was like the slope was to the front, but it has given some fins to give more aerodynamics. On the side profile, you can see the large wide air wheel arches, which again resemble from the earlier model, but it's more roundy and less edgy now. The belt has been retained, but the belt has got some difference. Earlier it was a broader rubber grip, but now it's been trim only. Long hood has been retained. A new side view mirror, which taken from the S-Class. The shape is good and more aerodynamic. The same shape has been retained from the earlier model, but there's a bend on the glass for more aerodynamic. And this portion, you can see that this line also been taken from the earlier model. Actually, this shows the passenger compartment. So this is the end of that. Coming onto the side is a big door which has got that proper G-Class feel, and the same grab handle has been retained. And you can see the sound has been retained to give that classic touch and feel. And it's a straight line on the roof line. It's a huge car, you can see, and even the wheel also been added on to the complementing the size of the car, because it's a 22-inch wheel and it's a wide-spoke design AMG wheel. So this wheel with that size match up very well. So in person won't feel the size of the car unless you are close to the car or next to the other vehicle. The rear door is actually been enlarged a little to get more access to the rear, and it's also retained the same clack sound. The quarter glass also been reworked to look more roundy kind because of the aerodynamics, and rear portion onto the end has been tapered a little to give more flowy air, and the wheel arch also retained same. There's a foot step which is standard on G63, and you can see the side exhaust again is a standard part of G63. And on the rear there's a spare wheel mounted here, which is a part of G-Wagon always, and look attractive. The square door has been retained. It opens sideways, and when you open sideways there's a huge boot space, and now there's a beautiful tray to cover up all the goods you have, and there's a lot of space to the rear, and there's a step over here which you can use to get into the car. So this grip makes that help the paint from the scratch. Once you close this, you can see a round portion over here which play as the reverse camera. Earlier the reverse camera used to come here, so this has been actually blocked to see the proper view rear, so it's been covered up. And the tail light also been more aerodynamic. It's given that curvy design, and the graphic also look attractive. So altogether, the Gordon Wagner team has been very successful in retaining the old classic shape of G-Wagon. One thing about G-Wagon never changed is the process of changing the interior. They have always upgraded the interior with the latest of Mercedes other stable. You know, my car has been a very basic one with a very basic interior, but I had done it little to change the upholstery and all. I had initially the steward checked fabric upholstery, but it was worn out, so I didn't get a replacement. So I had made it as a leather upholstery with a diamond stitch for the seats. But it's a basic design. You can see it's a very normal one. You can see the meter console is a very readable analog meter. There's all the center console has been engaged with the switches and the air vents. One thing remains same is this grab handle, because Merck says this is the best position to hold on for the co-passenger when they do off-roading. So that's been retained here. Rest everything has been reworked. You can see the 12.3-inch double screen over here, which has been taken from the S-Class and the upper end model of E-Class. You know, the command system is upgraded accordingly, and we don't have the MBUX now, but the command system previous to MBUX has been retained here, and it can be controlled in many ways. Two touch pads are here on the steering which can control left and the right one for the screen, and you can select different kind of dials according to your taste, and you can also control on the rotary knob and the touch pad over here. Neatly layouted center console with all the minimal switches are there, but there is an attractive air vent design with a signature element of new generation Merc. So turbine like air vent has been retained. There's 3 switches for the 3 differential lock, which we'll explain later while driving the car. The steering is also AMG steering, which is a very attractive one, a splatter and a squarish kind of steering with center console all been aluminum and Alcantara leather on the side, multifunction one, very grabby, handy one. And I have to say, seat also is been reworked thoroughly, and it is one of my favorite part over here. There are a lot of massage options and cooling and heating facility, but what I had to mention is the support you are getting on the seat. even though it looks small, it's a big seat and it's been taken from S-Class. So enough thigh support, enough backrest, and the dynamic seat also hold you when you do all the straight driving. I'll explain the rear seat because it's a major change over there from the rear seat. And new sunroof is also a proper sunroof with a glass one. Earlier it was a solid one. So it's a thoroughly reworked interior, and to add on to the flavor, they've brought in the Burmester higher end sound system, which is a blasting sound system. You know, they make one of the best sound system in the cars. One important change in interior is the rear portion. Rear has been extended a little behind, because earlier the seat used to be on just front of the rear axle. Now it's been pulled a little rear because the wheelbase has been enlarged. Now that has been reflected on the comfort of the seat. There is more leg room and more shoulder room, headroom. You know, it's been enormous, and you know the view also is great from this window. One thing which attracted me is the slanting option. Now with this position, you can really sit like in any luxury car or top end premium car. So now this one reason is attracting more G-Class customers, and you can also have a handrest which give you proper king-like feel in the rear portion, and AC control also give you individual control. So there's a lot of change gone on to the interior of the car, and it's more practical. The ride part is also improved, which I'll explain you on the test drive. So altogether, the interior is one of the most roomiest interior in any of the SUV, and you can really feel that So driving any G is always so special for me, no matter the old school old guy like my G and the latest one like this Amg G63. It has always bring a wide smile to my face. So it's been continued even with this new one. The new one is powered by a 4-liter bi-turbo with an output of 585 HP and 850 Nm of torque, and it is mated to a 9-speed 9G-tronic gearbox, smooth gearbox, very refined one, and it has got the ultimate off-roading tool like the transfer case and 3 diff locks. And 3 diff lock means one is on the transfer case which lock both the drives, and on the rear one lock, and for the front one lock. So altogether 3 diff lock which can be operated from these buttons 1, 2 and 3. Apart from that, there is a low range setting over here. You can just press the low range, it will go to the low range, and you will definitely have the most torquey machine which give a lot of torque to your all 4 wheels. A car like this, a boxy car with a ladder frame and body type construction, so dynamic, it could touch its maximum 230 km/h effortlessly, and I was really surprised or shocked to take the curves. It was doing it very effortlessly. There was no body roll which feel like you're losing the control or you're sweating out. It was very comfortable. It was like any of the sport SUVs like the Cayenne or maybe even like the X5. So it was more dynamic than earlier, in spite of being built in the same form like the previous one. The best part about that is the front suspension that improved a lot. Both the chassis and suspension is retuned in a way that you can really feel that performance with this new G. And we reached the plant and we had the drive on the off-road track set by MB India, where except the river crossing or water wading, rest everything could be checked. There was 80-degree climb, the 80-degree incline, 40-degree sideways, articulations and everything it was doing very effortlessly. I had to say, even though it has got 3 diff lock, I had engaged only 2 and didn't even engage the third one, the front one, and even it didn't have to use the low range. Believe me, no low range at all. So that was the performance I was getting over this. We were doing some off-roading yesterday. I'll share you some footage. We were doing it both with the G. So one thing which common or which has been retained in both G is the off-road mannerism. Both can tackle any terrain effortlessly. And I was surprised with the new one, even with the 22-inch low-profile tire. And it was a highway or it can't be even called as a MT Alt 80 tire. It can't even call as an 80 tire, so it's a proper highway tire, and it was giving out so much fun on off-roading. So and we were giving out the feel that it's a perfect all-terrain vehicle which can tackle or which can take you anywhere. So that is the best part of the G. You can effortlessly take it anywhere, and it can be in the most stylish manner, because the driving position is in a way that you feel that you're ruling the road. You are in the most powerful position, the throne-like feel, which also been retained in both the G. Even the old one has got a smaller seat, it's not that comfortable like this. This seat really gives that shake feel. Who is the biggest brand ambassador of G class around the world? So I have the answer why he always pick G, because nothing can really match this seating position in any of the SUVs. Apart from that, this also gives if you're driving soft-footed, you are getting a very refined ride. Even though the rear axle remains as solid as earlier, the suspension is tuned very well. It's giving very refined ride. And I also had to highlight about the efficiency. When you're doing a very soft-footed ride, I was getting an average of 7.5 to 8. Believe me, I was getting it. When I test the highway, it went up to 8. Otherwise, it was 7 to 7.5 easily. But once you pedal it, it will reduce drastically to even 2.5 to 3. So it was a big difference. But if you are soft-footed, if you are a bit careful, it can be used as a day-to-day car. You don't have to bother at all. But if you're doing like this, this will be good enough only for 2.5 to 3 km per liter. There are 5 different driving modes available, which is comfort, sport, sport plus, individual and slippery. There's no eco mode actually. So slippery is where it can be used on ice or maybe slippery condition, where you need to cut off the ESP so that the stability program won't spoil your tire spin, which is necessary on certain driving conditions. So these 5 modes plus suspension settings in 3 ways, all this can be reflected on your drive, because it really make a lot of change in the car. So I'm driving this machine, the same car, for the 3rd time. First I did for the expert drive, second it was for the Beast and Beauty movie series which we released, and then we had it for 3-4 days. So I was driving out throughout both this one and the Mighty Maybach. So both of them are 2 of my most favorite cars. So I was having great time with Beast and Beauty. If you've not seen it yet, you can check it out on our YouTube channel. So this is my 3rd drive, and in this drive I was driving in my hometown and other places very close to here. So we could really feel the car in 3 various conditions, and all the conditions it was in a different league from what G was earlier. So G is stronger than time, is proven again, and I have to say it has captured my heart more and more than any time earlier. So now with the first kind of G and to this one and intermediate G class, everything has actually been so well made for what it is meant to be called as Gelandewagen.